While most men nowadays are busy competing with each other, constantly trying to outdo one another on the surface, chasing attention, validation, and temporary wins, they are quietly losing to something far more dangerous. Something they can't see, can't measure, and rarely even question. Not other men, not women, not the system. Themselves, and the patterns they refuse to confront. Because the real enemy isn't external pressure or competition, it's psychological conditioning that operates in silence, slowly shaping decisions, weakening discipline, and keeping men locked in cycles that feel normal but lead nowhere. In a world that rewards clarity, control, and relentless execution, most men remain stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they're trapped in invisible habits that drain their edge until they become predictable, replaceable, and easy to ignore. Here are the 5 hidden psychological traps that keep men average in a competitive world. 1. The comfort addiction trap. It doesn't announce itself as a problem, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. It disguises itself as rest, as balance, as something you've earned after a long day, slowly convincing you that staying comfortable is harmless. You start negotiating with discomfort, delaying hard decisions, avoiding effort, and telling yourself you'll act tomorrow, while that tomorrow keeps moving further away. Over time, your tolerance for effort decreases, your discipline weakens, and your standards quietly drop without you even noticing it happening. While other men are learning to operate under pressure and push through resistance, you're building a dependency on ease that makes every challenge feel heavier than it actually is. Comfort doesn't destroy you in a dramatic moment. It reshapes you slowly, day by day, until you no longer recognize the version of yourself that once had ambition and edge.
2. The validation trap. At first, it feels natural to want recognition, to be seen, to be acknowledged. But the moment your sense of worth becomes tied to external reactions, you begin to lose control over your own direction. You start adjusting your behavior based on how people respond, saying things to be liked instead of respected, acting in ways that gain approval rather than build strength. Without realizing it, you begin to depend on feedback to feel stable, which means your confidence is no longer yours. It belongs to whoever is watching. And the moment your actions are driven by validation, you become predictable, and anything predictable can be influenced, controlled, or manipulated. High-value men don't perform for attention or chase reactions. They operate from internal standards that don't change depending on the room they're in. 3. The comparison trap. You look at other men, their success, their lifestyle, their progress, and instead of using it as information, you let it shape your emotions, pulling your focus away from your own path. You begin measuring your worth against theirs, which creates either insecurity that slows you down or false confidence that blinds you. In both cases, your attention is no longer on execution, it's on evaluation, and that shift alone is enough to keep you stuck. Comparison turns your journey into a reaction instead of a mission, making you adjust your direction based on what others are doing, rather than what actually matters. The most dangerous men don't waste energy looking sideways. They move forward with clarity, building at their own pace while others are still watching.
4. The overthinking trap. You convince yourself that thinking more will lead to better outcomes, that analyzing every angle will protect you from mistakes, that waiting for clarity is the smart move. But what actually happens is that you delay action, hesitate in moments that require decisiveness, and miss opportunities that only exist for a short window. You replay scenarios in your head, refine plans endlessly, and search for certainty in a world that never guarantees it. Over time, this habit creates a gap between what you know and what you do, and that gap becomes the place where your potential slowly fades. Overthinking feels intelligent, structured, and controlled, but in reality, it's often fear disguised as logic, keeping you safe while quietly holding you back. 5. The passive living trap. You stop making deliberate choices and begin reacting to whatever life throws at you, allowing circumstances, moods, and external situations to dictate your actions. Instead of setting direction, you drift. Instead of deciding, you delay. Instead of acting, you wait for the right moment that never fully arrives. Days pass, then weeks, then months, and nothing significant changes. Not because you lack ability, but because you never fully commit to movement. Passivity doesn't feel like failure. It feels like neutrality, like you're figuring things out, when in reality, you're standing still while everything around you keeps moving. And in a competitive world, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind without even realizing it.